Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Mechanic Meditations. This will be number 4 in our series. This one is a little bit more long term thinking. This one is going to be asking a question about planning out your career. And it's kind of a introspective kind of look that asks you, do you really see yourself doing this for a long term? So the question that I'm positing to you is, do you see yourself doing this? Meaning wrenching, fixing cars, trucks, whatever you're fixing. Do you see yourself doing this for 5 years, for 10 years, for 20 years? Do you see yourself doing it for the rest of your life? And this is an important question to ask, especially if you're just first starting out. Like when I started, I wanted to be a mechanic, I wanted to be a mechanic when I was a young kid. Age 16, 17, I really wanted to learn how to fix my car because it kept breaking down. You can go back and watch the first video that I did to get a more in-depth story on that one. My whole resilience kind of thing, my personal self-reliance view set. And then 17 to 18, I took auto shop in high school and loved it and wanted to continue on. And I went to community college and took the auto courses there while working full-time somewhere else. And finally became an auto mechanic a few years later after I'd finished all of my training at the community college. And the first few years I was very excited. I started in 2008, and as an hourly, not quite loop tech, it was more of a helper. I was a helper. I was a apprentice. That's the more apt term. I was a apprentice to a seasoned mechanic who had been doing it for 30 years, and I started doing oil changes, tire rotations, minor repairs, interior repairs, mechanical repairs, brake jobs, driveline, stuff like that. I even helped pull a 6.7 liter Cummins diesel, the new diesel, the new Cummins. I pulled that out of a truck. What was that? I think that was 2010. And I had never done that before. I'd never pulled an engine. I'd pulled my own engine out of my Cordoba in 2008, and I had a buddy helping me. But this was the first like major engine job, major employment related engine job that I'd ever done. And you guys who have taken an engine out of an old 70s vehicle, it's way different than doing one out of a 2008, 2009. When did the 6.7 come out? 2010. I think that was a '09 truck. Cummins 6.7. It weighs almost 1,000 pounds by itself, whereas a long block out of a 1978 Chrysler weighs about 600, and the Cummins is much bigger. It's huge. So I did that, and I was really excited, and I got it done in a few days because I was inexperienced and needed to poke my way around it, and it was a back burner job, so I could take my time on it. But getting back to the question, the first few years, I was really excited. I loved wrenching. I lived and breathed it. I thought of how I could do it better in my off time. I would stay late sometimes and get my shop ready, get my work area ready. Put a lot of money and thought into tools, buying tools, getting stuff that would help me do my job better. I took all the training I could, the Chrysler training that I could. I was at training probably 20 or 30 times in 1 year. At my dealer, I was the youngest master tech there. I got my master tech certification in 2010, 2000, no, 2011. So, took it seriously. And I became flat rate in 2011 or so. I went on the flat rate scale. And I started getting my ass handed to me. I would get minimum wage checks. Here in California, we have a minimum wage law where if you flag less than how many hours you clocked on the dollar scale, you have to do some algebra and all that, then you get paid the higher of your wage. And more often than not, I was on the minimum wage scale. But since the difference in pay wasn't that great, they kept me on, and they were hard up for techs, and it was kind of hard up for techs. And I was a reliable person, so I was able to stay on with that dealer. It was a pretty nice gig, but slowly I started getting fed up with the job, and because I kept getting warranty work. Warranty. Some CP here and there. CP here and there, but it was like 60-40 warranty CP. And at least with the domestic manufacturers, it's hard to make good money on warranty unless you're either really fast, like really good and fast, which I wasn't at the time. I had only had about maybe 4 or 5, probably about 4 years under my belt, and I'm gonna be honest, it takes longer than that to get familiar with auto mechanics, and that'll be another video. That's a good topic I just thought of. I was familiar with some cars. I was familiar with a year range of what I was working on. The current model year back to maybe 5 or 6 years, and a smattering of the older stuff that kept coming in, but it still wasn't good. I was fast at some things, but really slow at other things. And I specialized in one department, so I was really pretty good at electrical and AC, and getting better by the day. But like drivability, I don't know. Transmission, definitely not. Even at my peak, at like 10 years experience, I still wasn't that good at transmission, because I didn't see it very much. All the transmission work went to the training guys, and that's fine. Let them have their niche. The transmission is kind of a black voodoo magic art, so let them have that. Where was I? I wasn't making a lot of money. I was making decent money. I wasn't making good money. And part of it was inexperience. Part of it was low warranty pay. Part of it was we were still reeling from the 2008 to 2010 crash debacle. 2008 put the whole world economy into a tailspin, but the major issues, at least with the automotive side, really didn't start to materialize until mid 2009 or 2000 or early 2010, at least from my memory. There were days in 09 and 010, especially in the summer, where literal tumbleweeds would blow through the shop. I live in an area of California where we get real tumbleweeds, and they would blow right through the shop. And so that's a literal thing and a figurative thing. We weren't getting the car count in every day to support, I think, like 25 techs at the time. So, but since the economics of keeping me on were better than letting me go, I managed to stay on. So it was a confluence of not enough experience, not enough hours, and warranty pay. So I was making enough to support myself, except for rent. I lived at home at the time. And I started getting fed up a little bit. Got better. The parts started coming in, work started coming in. I started taking on more jobs, but with those more jobs, it became more warranty pay. Slowly, I started getting up and up and up, and then my hours would get up, but then my pay wasn't enough. And this comes into well, this is like my hourly wage or my flag wage wasn't enough, and that's an entirely separate discussion, which we will get into on this channel. We absolutely will get into mechanic compensation, and I'm probably going to bring on a couple former coworkers and good friends of mine to talk about this. And I'd love to get more discussion from like the Facebook Automotive Technicians group, at least some data from in there and anecdotes. That mechanic compensation is something that you absolutely must know and be aware of if you choose to get into this trade. And I'm already at the 10-minute mark, so I need to talk about this. I started hating the job. I wanted to get out, and I saw my out as being a instructor. So I went back to school and I got my finished up my AS degrees and such, and got hired on at the community college where I took classes, and now I'm an instructor. But I wanted to get out because I was tired of one, the long hours, because now I was putting in longer hours and Saturdays. One of the things is you gotta work Saturdays if you're at a dealer. It's a rotating Saturday, some of them, sometimes, or you maybe get Tuesday through Saturday if you get a set schedule. But a lot of the guys there were working Monday through Saturday, or Monday, Tuesday, off Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then off Sunday. And to me, that's BS. If you don't get 2 days off in a row, that's no, bro. Everybody needs 2 days off in a row minimum. So that was at the 7-year mark. I was getting really, really frustrated and really, really PO'd at the job. My temper was hair trigger temper. I was so angry all the time. Going home, I would yell at people at the slightest thing because I started seeing things in terms of minutes. How many minutes does everything take? How many minutes of my life are you wasting by being slow? How many minutes do I have to put up with losing in order to make the job? Because we're all mechanics are paid on the flat rate scale, where the hour is divided up into tenths of an hour. So every 6 minutes is a tenth of an hour. You start seeing things in terms of tenths of an hour, or straight minutes, and that's how I started to see things. That is not the way to be. Humanity did not grow up and evolve this way. This is residue and a product of the Industrial Revolution and scientific management. And Frederick Winslow Taylor, look him up. Frederick Taylor is the guy that created scientific management and the flat rate system in conjunction with Henry Ford. So I started seeing, I want out. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Became an instructor, and then through luck and knowing people, you got to know people. You have to network well, and part of the networking is I did good work in the later part of my, took 5 years to get good, and then the second 5 years, I was really good. I took my job super seriously and produced very good work. And I got hired in at a fleet, and then the fleet job was completely night and day. We'll talk about we'll talk about differences between fleet and flat rate or retail in another video. And the first year I was at the fleet, it was a decompression. I equate it to a soldier coming back from war. You're on all the time, and then suddenly you don't have to be. I was never in the service, and I've never been to war, but that's the closest thing that I can describe it to from what I hear from people that actually went to war and came back. It's the same kind of thing. You're on all the time, and then you're suddenly off, and you don't know what to do. And it took me a year or 18 months to fully decompress. And now I actually really like wrenching again. I enjoy it. And I started a side business. I never thought I'd start a side business wrenching because I was wrenching all the time at work. And now here I am with my own little AC business. So, and I do see myself wrenching for the rest of my life again because now it's on my terms. It's one, I've got a job that isn't got fireworks going off outside. I've got a job that isn't always on produce at any cost. Now it's, hey, it doesn't matter if something went wrong. Now we have the time to fix it. Don't worry about the time. And that gives renewed vigor to this vocation. So they say that the least maintained vehicle is mechanics, and that's pretty much 100% true. If you're a professional mechanic, you don't want to work on your own car when you get home from work. I know I didn't. I had to schedule working on my car like 2 or 3 weeks in advance and build myself up to it. So ask yourself, do you see yourself doing this in 5 years? Because when I started, yes, I saw myself doing this in 5 years. Do you see yourself doing it in 10 years? I got really angry and fed up by year 6 or 7. And at year 10, if I hadn't have switched over to the fleet, I don't know what I might have done. Because I was very lucky that I was able to go off on some disability for about 3 months and decompress at year 8, 2015. And that got my mind right a little bit. And I got things back into or I was able to mold things into my control a little bit. But even then, after 2 years of being more in control of my work area and work schedule and all that, it still started to wear on me. And I don't even know what the guys are doing right now. Today is June 19th, 2022, and we are, for reports that I hear, it's super slow and super hard to get parts, and supply chains are breaking down, and people are not bringing their cars in, and to me it's looking like 2009, 2010 all over again in the dealers. So that panic of not having enough hours, not having enough work, I don't know what I would do in that situation. Probably go into another trade. Probably do something else. So keep all of this in mind if you decide to go into this industry. Make sure that you can see yourself doing it for 5, 10, 15, 20, 40, 50 years. Take into account all these projected transitions, like from internal combustion engines over to electric, and then what's after electric? Will we even have cars? There will be cars left over, but will there be fuel for them? Maybe we're going all to trains, or maybe we'll go to the tube system, like from Futurama. You'll have to become a tube technician. So think about this stuff. Keep it all in the back of your mind. Have a plan B and a plan C. And I didn't have a plan B. I didn't have a plan C until late in my career. And then it was more of a, oh, shoot, I don't really like doing this. What else can I do? So, but still keep my current standard of living, my current standard of income. So these are all things you got to think about. I hope I went deep into that, or at least produced some sort of discussion topic that you can ask yourself. Think about these things on a daily basis, when you're working. Just think about these questions. So please leave a comment below. Get a discussion going. I'd love to hear what your take is, and we can revisit this later at another time, of course, and maybe even get a collaboration going. Okay, thanks a lot. Take it easy.